everyone. Today we will be reading the first chapter of Harry Potter and the Chambers of the Secrets. Chapter 1. The Worst Birthday. Not for the first time, an argument had broken out over breakfast at number 4 Privet Drive. Mr. Vernon Dursley had been woken up in early hours of the morning by a loud hooting noise from his nephew Harry's room. "Third time this week," he roared across the table. "If you can't control that owl, it'll have to go." Harry tried yet again to explain. "She's bored," he said. "She's used to flying outside. If I could just let her out at night." "Do I look stupid?" snarled Uncle Vernon, a bit of fried eggs dangling from his bushy mustache. "I know what'll happen if that owl's let out." He exchanged dark looks with his wife Petunia. Harry tried to argue back, but his words were drowned by a long, loud bleat from the Dursley's son Dudley. "I want more bacon." "There's more in the frying pan, sweet said Aunt Petunia, turning misty eyes on her massive son. "We must feed you up while you've got the chance. I don't like the sound of that school food." "Nonsense, Petunia. I never went hungry when I was at Smeltings," said Uncle Vernon heartily. "Dudley gets enough, don't you, son?" Dudley, who was so large his bottom drooped over either side of the kitchen chair. He grinned and turned at Harry. "Pass the frying pan." "You've got to use the magic word," said Harry irritably. The effect of this simple sentence on the rest of the family was incredible. Dudley gasped and fell off his chair with a crash and shook the whole kitchen. Miss Dudley gave a small scream and clapped her hands to her mouth. Mr. Dursley jumped to his feet, veins furrowing in his trembles. "I meant please," said Harry quickly. "I didn't mean—" "What have I told you?" thundered Uncle, spinning over the table, "about saying the M word in our house?" "But How dare you threaten Dudley?" roared Uncle Vernon, pounding the table with his fist. I warned you. I will not tolerate mention of your abnormality under this roof." Harry stared at his purple-faced uncle and his pale aunt, who was trying to heave Dudley to his feet. "All right," said Harry, "all right." Uncle Vernon sat back down, breathing like a winded rhinoceros, watching Harry closely out of the corners of his small, sharp eyes. Ever since Harry had come home for the summer holidays, Uncle Vernon has been treating him like a bomb that might go off at any moment, because Harry wasn't a normal boy. As a matter of fact, he was not normal as it is possible to be. Harry Potter was a wizard fresh from his year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and if the Dursleys were unhappy to have him back for the holidays, it was nothing how Harry felt. He missed Hogwarts so much it has been a constant stomach ache. He missed the castle with its secret passages, ways with ghosts, his lessons, perhaps not Snape, the potion master, the post arriving by an owl, eating banquets in the great hall, sleeping in his four-poster bed at the Tower dormitory, visiting the gamekeeper Hagrid in his cabin in the grounds next to the Forbidden Forest, and especially Quidditch, the most popular sport in the wizarding world. 6 tall goalposts, 4 flying balls, and 14 players on broomsticks. All Harry's spellbooks, his wand, robe, cauldron, and top of the range Nimbus 2000 broomstick had been locked up in a cupboard under the stairs by Uncle Vernon the instant Harry had come home. What did the Dursleys care if Harry lost his place in the house Quidditch team because he hasn't practiced all summer? What was it to the Dursleys if Harry went back to school without any of his homework done? The Dursleys called were what wizards call muggles, not a drop of magical blood in their veins. And as far as they were concerned, having a wizard in the family was a matter of the deepest shame. Uncle Vernon had been padlocked Harry's owl, Hedwig, inside her cage to stop her carrying messages to anyone in the wizarding world. Harry looked nothing like the rest of the family. Uncle Tatch, Uncle Vernon's was horse-faced and bony. Dudley was blonde, pink, and porky. Harry, on the other hand, was small, skinny, with bright green eyes, a jet black hair that was always untidy. He wore round glasses, and his forehead was thin, lightning-shaped scar. It was this scar that made Harry so particularly unusual, even for a wizard. This scar was the only hint of Harry's very mysterious past, and instead he had left on the Dursleys' doorstep 11 years ago. At the age of 1, Harry had somehow survived the curse from the greatest dark sorcerers of all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name most witches still fear to speak. Harry's parents had died in Voldemort's attack, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and somehow nobody understood why. Voldemort's power has been destroyed the instant he had failed to kill Harry. So Harry had been brought up to his dead mother's sister and her husband. He had spent 10 years with the Dursley, never understanding why making odd things happen without meaning to, believing the Dursleys' story he had lost a scar in a car crash which had killed his parents. And then, exactly a year ago, Hogwarts had written to Harry. The whole story had come out. Harry had taken his place at a wizard school where he and his scar were famous. But now the school year was over, and he was back to the Dursleys for the summer, back to being treated like a dog, and he had rolled in something smelly. The Dursleys hadn't remembered that today happened to Harry's 12th birthday. Of course, his hope hasn't been high. They never gave him a proper present, let alone buy a cake. But to ignore it completely. At the moment, Uncle Vernon clears his throat importantly and said, "Now, as we all know, today is a very important day." Harry looked up, hardly daring to believe it. "This could well be the day I make the biggest deal of my career," said Uncle Vernon. Harry went back to his toast. Of course, he thought bitterly. Uncle Vernon was talking about the stupid dinner party. He'd been taking of nonsense for a fortnight. Some rich builder and his wife were coming to dinner, and Uncle Vernon was hoping to get a huge order from him. Uncle Vernon's company made drills. "I think we should run through the schedule one more time," said Uncle Vernon. "We should all be in position at 8 o'clock. Petunia, you will be in the lounge," said Aunt Petunia promptly, waiting for a welcome and graciously in her home. Good. And Dudley?" "I'll be waiting to open the door," Dudley said in a false, simpering smile. "May I take your coats, Miss and Mrs. Mason? They'll love him," cried Aunt Petunia rapturously. "Excellent, Dudley," said Uncle Vernon. Then he rounded on Harry. "And you? I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending I'm not there," said Harry tonelessly. "Exactly," said Uncle Vernon nastily. "I will lead them into the lounge, introducing you, Petunia, and pour them drinks at 8:15. I'll announce dinner," said Aunt Petunia. "And Dudley, you'll say, 'May I take you through the dining room, Miss Mason?'" said Dudley, offering his fat arm to the invisible woman. "My perfect little gentleman," sniffed Aunt Petunia. "And you?" said Uncle Vernon viciously to Harry. "I'll be in my room making no noise, pretending I'm not there," said Harry dully. "Precisely. Now we should aim and get a few good compliments at dinner. Petunia, any ideas? Vernon, tell me you're such a good golfer, Mr. Mason. Do tell me where you bought your dress, Mrs. Mason. Perfect, Dudley. How about we write an essay about our hero at school, Mr. Mason? I wrote about you. This was too much for both Aunt Petunia and Harry. Aunt Petunia burst into tears and hugged her son, while Harry ducked under the table so they wouldn't see him laughing. And you, boy? Harry fought to keep his face straight as he emerged. I'll be in my room making no noise, pretending I'm not there, he said. Too right you will, said Uncle Vernon forcefully. The Masons don't know anything about you, and it's going to stay that way. When dinner's over, you take Mrs. Mason back to the lounge for coffee, Petunia, and I'll bring the subject round to drills. With any luck, I'll have the deal signed and sealed before news at 10. We'll be shopping for a holiday home in Majorca this time tomorrow. Harry couldn't feel too excited about this. He didn't think the Dursley would like him any better in Majorca than they did in Privet Drive. Right, and off into town to pick up dinner jackets for Dudley and me. And you, snarled Harry, you stay out of your aunt's way while she's cleaning. Harry left through the back door with a bright, brilliant sunny day. He crossed the lawn, slumped down the garden bench, and sang out under his breath, Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. No cards, no presents, and he would be spending the evening pretending not to exist. He gazed miserably into the henge. He never felt so lonely, more than anything else at Hogwarts, more than even playing Quidditch. Harry missed his best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. They, however, didn't seem to be missing him at all. Neither of them had written to him all summer, even though Ron said he was going to ask Harry to come and stay. Countless times Harry had been the point of unlocking Hedwig's cage by magic and sending her to Ron and Hermione with a letter, but it wasn't worth the risk. Underage wizards aren't allowed to use magic out of school. Harry hadn't told the Dursleys this, but he knew it under their terror, and then he might turn them all into dung beetles, and that stopped them locking him in the cupboard under the stairs with his wand and broomstick. For the first couple of weeks back, Harry had enjoyed muttering nonsense words under his breath and watching Dudley tearing out of the room as fast as his fat legs would carry him. But the long sentence from Ron and Hermione had made Harry feel so cut off from the magical world that even taunting Dudley had lost its appeal, and now Ron and Hermione had forgotten his birthday. What wouldn't he give now for a message for Hogwarts? From any witch or wizard, he'd almost be glad of sight of his arch enemy, Draco Malfoy, just to be sure it hadn't been a dream. Not that this whole year at Hogwarts had been fun. At the very end of the last term, Harry had come face to face with none other than Lord Voldemort himself. Voldemort might be ruined for a former self, but he's still terrifying, still cunning, still determined to regain power. Harry had slipped through Voldemort's clutches for a second time, but it had been a narrow escape, and now, weeks later, Harry had been in the night, drenched in cold sweat, wondering where Voldemort was now, remembering his livid face, his wide, mad eyes. Harry suddenly sat bolt upright on the garden bench. He hadn't been staring absent-mindedly into the henge, and the henge was staring back. Two enormous green eyes had appeared among the leaves. Harry jumped to his feet, just as a jeering voice fluttered across the room. lawn. I know what day it is, sang Dudley, waddling towards him. The huge eyes blinked and vanished. What? Said Harry, not taking his eyes off where they had been. I know what day it is, Dudley repeated, coming right up to him. Well done, said Harry. So you finally learned the days of the week. Today's your birthday, sneered Dudley. How come you haven't got any cards? Haven't you even got friends at the freak place? Better not let your mom hear you talking about my school, said Harry coolly. Dudley hitched his trousers, which were slipping down to the fat bottom. Why are you staring at the hinge? He said suspiciously. I'm trying to decide what would be the best bell to set on fire, said Harry. Dudley stumbled back at once, a look of panic on his fat face. You can't. Dad told you're not allowed to use magic, he said, clutching down on the house. And you haven't got anywhere else to go. You haven't even got any friends to take you. Jickery pockery, Harry said in a fierce voice. Hocus pocus, squiggly wiggly. Mom, howled Dudley, stripping over to his feet as he dashed back towards the house. Mom, he's doing you know what. Harry paid dearly for the moment of fun, as neither Dudley nor the hinge was in any way hurt. Aunt Petunia knew he hadn't really done magic, and he still had to duck as he aimed as a heavy blow in his head with a soapy frying pan. Then he gave him work to do, with the promise he wouldn't eat again until he'd finished. While Dudley lowered and watched it in eating ice creams, Harry cleaned the windows, washed the car, mowed the lawn, trimmed the flower beds, pruned the water roses, repainted the garden bench. The sun blazed overhead, burning the back of his neck. Harry knew he shouldn't have risen Dudley's bait. But Dudley had said the very thing Harry had been thinking himself. Maybe he didn't have any friends at Hogwarts. Wish they could see famous Harry Potter now, he thought savagely. He spread Manny on the flower beds, his back aching, sweating down his face. It was past 7 in the evening when at last, exhausted, he heard Aunt Petunia calling him. Get in here and walk on the newspaper. Harry moved gladly into the shades of gleaming kitchen. On top of the fridge stood tonight's pudding, a huge round of whipped cream and sugared violets. A joint of toast pork was sizzling in the oven. Eat quickly, the Masons will be here soon, snapped Aunt Petunia, pointing to 2 slices of bread and a lump of cheese on the kitchen table. She was already wearing a salmon-pink cocktail dress. Harry watched his hands bolt down into his pitiful supper, and the moment he had finished, Aunt Petunia whisked away in his plate. Upstairs, hurry! And he had passed the door to the living room. Harry caught a glimpse of Uncle Vernon and Dudley in bow ties at the dinner jackets. He had only reached upstairs landing when the doorbell rang, and Aunt Petunia's furious face appeared at the footsteps of the stairs. Remember, boy, one sound. Harry crossed his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped inside, closed the door, turned, collapsed into his bed. The trouble was, there has already been something sitting on it. We'll be reading chapter 2 in the next video. Thank you.